current administration declared that there are no sensitive areas, okay? Prior to this, houses of worship, schools, also healthcare facilities were considered areas that were special and sensitive. And so for that reason, immigration enforcement would not happen. Okay, immigration enforcement would not happen in churches, schools, healthcare facilities. Then the current administration declared, no, that's all out the door. You know, we're not going to treat these places any differently than anywhere else. So that is what happened, that there were no sensitive areas. Now, of course, we know that one way to challenge the current administration is through the courts. So a number of churches, I believe these were, the specific plaintiffs were Baptist and Friends congregations, and then also Sikh Temple. Okay, they came together and filed a lawsuit here in the Fourth Circuit. And actually, just yesterday, so it's like every day it's something new. Just yesterday, a federal judge, this is District Judge Chuang, he ruled that ICE cannot conduct immigration enforcement in certain places of worship. Okay, so that was very welcome news. Basically, these churches and the Sikh temple, they asserted their First Amendment right, to, their right to freedom of worship, and the idea that ICE conducting enforcement actions and raids in churches was impinging on their freedom of worship, because I know that there are a number of, and this is not just within Disciples of Christ, but I also have clients in other churches too, where particularly in a lot of immigrant churches, where people are not coming to church because they are afraid. Because they are afraid of immigration enforcement, they are staying home from church, and that's it's awful. At this time when people need more than ever to be able to gather, for the body of Christ to gather, for us to be able to encourage one another. We have people who are, staying away from church because they're afraid of immigration enforcement. So I was, I was encouraged to see the decision by Judge Chuang. But even with that, there's a disappointing aspect. And that is that he made this decision only for the groups that were plaintiffs in the lawsuit. Many of us had hoped that he would basically issue a nationwide injunction on ICE actions in any houses of worship across the US, but he limited the scope of his decision. So the decision that came down yesterday is not nationwide and it doesn't apply. However, our hope is that, with this decision yesterday, that this is going to encourage other religious denominations, other churches, and other places around the country to file similar lawsuits, and that other judges are going to follow this same decision. And, I hope it's not going to have to be like every single state, but just that one of these judges is going to issue a nationwide injunction to basically stop these immigration enforcement actions in houses of worship. Okay, so because, as I said, it doesn't apply, across the board, let's talk a little bit about that. Is we hope it doesn't happen. We hope it doesn't happen to any of your churches, but what if? Okay, what if ICE, that's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, law enforcement comes to your church? Now, the thing is, okay, uh, what I have been advising churches is, first of all, for your church, and I'm talking about local congregation, you need to designate particular people who have the authority to engage with ICE and to speak on behalf of the church. It shouldn't just be any old congregant or church member or whoever's walking around in the lobby or the hallway at the time, or the person who's closest to the door who will talk to law enforcement. No. And so make that clear to the people in your churches, the people in your congregations, that if anybody, law enforcement comes in, do not engage. Do not engage. That whoever is the designated person, okay, most likely the senior pastor, and I think maybe one or two other people, most maybe three people who have been designated, that they will speak on behalf of the church, okay? The other thing is, the designated people need to be people with proper immigration status. Okay. Definite. So, I mean, absolutely, it should not be someone undocumented who is engaging with law enforcement, with ICE. No, it needs to be someone who's documented, preferably, maybe even someone who already has US citizenship. Okay. The only reason why I say that, no, certainly if you have immigration status, it's fine for you to talk to ICE, but you never know. I mean, if you have status, you might need to go up for renewal in future, or apply for something else in future. And I wouldn't want someone to have some type of negative interaction with immigration. So preferably someone who's already a United States citizen. Okay. And it's okay to ask them, okay, if they have a judicial warrant, okay? And I'm just going to click on this real quick, okay? Because it's possible that they may come in with an ICE warrant, a warrant from Department of Homeland Security. You are not obligated to allow them into your church when they just have an ICE warrant. You're not. And it is okay to politely decline to have them come into your church. It is okay. And that's why I suggest this thing about, maybe let's, designate a United States citizen, or, someone who has status, and also someone who is comfortable, someone who is not going to be intimidated. Okay, someone who is not going to be intimidated by law enforcement. They can speak respectfully. Okay, they can speak respectfully, but at the same time with authority. Okay, they're not going to feel like scared or whatever to say no. We do not give you permission to come into our church. Okay. Now, if law enforcement has a signed judicial warrant, okay, and it is specifically, okay, for search of the premises, okay, search of the premises for the church, then yes, they can come in whether or not you you allow them. If they have a signed judicial warrant, then they can come in. Now the thing is, if they come in, all right, that doesn't mean that they can just start rounding up anybody in your church, or going in and approaching anybody who's either sitting around or standing around or anything like that. Even if they come in, they can only, okay, they can only approach someone that they have like probable cause, okay, to believe that the individual is, in the US undocumented, or something like that. And the thing is, unless they specifically have a warrant with so-and-so's name on it, they don't know who's in your church. They don't know who's in your congregation. They don't have that type of information, and the people in your church don't have to give it. Okay, so this is the perfect opportunity to show those red cards. They want to ask someone about, do you have papers? Are you here legally? Don't even answer the question. Show them the red card. Okay, so if they have, and that's what I'm saying is, on one hand, they shouldn't even be in there because your authorized representative from your church can decline. Your authorized representative your church can say, no, you don't have permission to be here. We're not letting you in. But if they have a judicial warrant and they can get in, then even if they're in, that doesn't mean that the people in the church have to engage. Okay.